Hey everyone, welcome to the Global Ed Student Chat for January, our first chat of 2020. I would like to welcome everyone here on the panel and to those joining us around the globe on YouTube Live or on Twitter. So I am going to introduce one of our awesome student leads, Darcy, who is going to explain a little bit on the back channels.
Sure. So if you're watching us on YouTube, you will notice that there's a comment space to your right. This is a great way for you to share your own thoughts and ideas and add your thinking and get involved in the conversation. If you have Twitter, follow the hashtag #GlobalEdSSChat to read the ideas, thoughts, and questions shared by others. Use the hashtag to add your thinking and get involved in the conversation. And feel free to share your name and where in the world you are joining from today. If you ask questions, we will bring them to panel. Please remember that the audience for this chat is K-12, so your comments and questions should be appropriate for all ages.
Excellent. Thank you, Darcy. And I would love to welcome our expert to today's panel, Dr. Eileen Winokur. Dr. Eileen, would you please be so kind as to introduce yourself? Or just say a quick hello. And I actually have Darcy that's going to read your bio because it's an awesome bio and I don't want to leave anything out.
Sounds good. Thank you, Darcy. Go ahead. Hi, everybody. I'm so happy to be here.
Okay, sure. Dr. Eileen has lived in Kuwait for 35 years and recently retired as Director of Foundation Program Unit for Math and English at Gulf University for Science and Technology. She taught and was an administrator at the early childhood and elementary levels. In addition to teaching and administration at the college level in private institutions for 25 years, she is currently blogging about her experience living in Kuwait and providing support to refuge teachers.
So thank you for joining all the way in from Kuwait. And you are how many hours ahead of us here on the East Coast?
I'm 8 hours ahead, so it's 9 p.m. here in Kuwait right now.
Wow, thank you so much. And I'm also going to just ask our guests to introduce ourselves. So first off, our guest from Cardinal Carter.
Hello, everyone. So my name is Joseph. I'm from Cardinal Carter, Toronto, Ontario. And thank you for letting me having here. I'm 14 years old.
Awesome. Thank you, Joseph. How about our friends from the CISD SWAT team with Mrs. Poncio out in Texas?
Hi. We are the Salina ISD SWAT team. We've been around for about 3 years. Our main purpose here at the school is to help with any issues that come as kind of the first responders. We are a one-to-one high school, so we help with any of the ones that left. The iPad issues that happen, we collaborate a lot with the teachers. These girls are actually our most recent members. We're all super proud of them. They are all Google Educator Level 1 certified, and the rest of our team is planning on being Google Educator Level 2 certified by the end of the spring. I am Google Educator Level 2 certified. And we use all these skills in order to increase collaboration between students and teachers and really advocate for technology like themselves.
Wow, thank you so much. That is impressive to be Google Certified Level 1 and to be going for Google Level Certified 2, something that educators are doing, and to see the kids doing it. That is amazing. Wow. I'm just going to ask if you just move the microphone maybe a little bit closer to you just so we can boost that volume so we can hear you. And finally, our students from Miss Daniels' class.
Hi, I'm Robin. And I'm Lisa, and we're from the Social Justice League here at Silver Pines. I'm 14 years old in Mrs. Daniels' class. And I'm 13.
And I thank you so much for joining us. And I'm going to bring in Sam, who is waiting in the background, to run through our norms. I'm just going to go ahead and take myself out and add.
Hi, everyone. I'm Sam. I go to Listowel, it's been a while. LDSS, the Listowel District Secondary School. I'm in grade 9, and here's our norms for some of our chats. We have 20 minutes to discuss 3 to 4 questions. Please be mindful that the chat is open to students in grades kindergarten to grade 12. Active participation from classes are watching. All the comments made during the chat should be positive and productive. Everyone is entitled to their own opinion, You may not agree with something someone has said, but we ask when challenging the idea, you respectfully disagree with the idea, not the individual person.
Thank you so much, Sam. And I think we are ready to get started with question one. I'm going to hang out in the background and leave it to students. And Darcy, can you take us away with question one?
Yeah. So the first question is, do you think homework is important? Why or why not?
If you want, I can start. Sorry. If you want, I can start this off. The first question, if you don't mind. So homework is definitely an important thing in our lives because it really challenges the brain to achieve, to learn better. Let's also talk better to peers. And usually, sorry about that. Basically, sometimes it can release stress when we have bad days because usually when you're done homework, you get that sensational feeling when you're done homework. It's like a chemical reaction in your brain. You're like, oh, I'm done my homework. It feels so good. You feel more energetic. It really boosts up your mind really well. So.
I'm just wondering how you all feel, because most of you are, I believe, high school level or late middle school. But I'm wondering if you feel that homework is more appropriate for certain ages. If you're thinking back into when you were in kindergarten, elementary school, middle school, and what types of homework maybe that would look like. But really, do you feel like it's an age-appropriate thing? Do you think it's necessary maybe in high school? Just wondering.
I feel like I'm in grade 8. I'm not really in high school yet. So I feel like I know high school students do have a lot of stress. They have a lot of work, a lot of projects, a lot of assignments. And homework is just extra stress on top of that. For middle schoolers like me, I'm fine with homework. I do feel though it is unnecessary at times. It's just like I said before, it's adding a lot of extra stress. But if it's just for practice, just for memorization, I think that it's fine.
We believe that simple, repetitive homework that practices the work that is done in the class that day would be a lot more beneficial, because that way you have the stuff stuck in your mind and you're not practicing something that you don't know.
But if you don't really understand the work and you're given homework, and you don't know and you don't have anyone at home to help, you're bringing it to class, and that does count for marks, even though there's nothing you can really do.
Yeah, that would be stressful. Yeah.
I would say I definitely agree with Lisa and Robin, like what they were saying. I feel like I really liked homework when I was younger because it kind of made me feel like I was like important and like really like grown up. But as I've grown older and now that I'm in high school, I don't really enjoy it as much as I used to, especially since, I have other commitments now, like sports and like extracurricular activities. And I'm not always have enough time to complete the load of homework that teachers assign. But I think homework is important to me because I think it's important to complete when assigned, because obviously if you don't complete it, you won't only have you'll have a worse understanding of the subject matter. You might also be behind in your class and you could lose valuable marks. But me saying it's important to me doesn't mean that I think that it's always necessary. I feel like I have very mixed feelings with homework, as a lot of high school students probably do. So, yeah.
In my opinion, time isn't really fit for the level that we learn. A lot of times things that I get are eases or principles. And if you end up not doing it because it isn't really and you just forget it because you're not confident to do it, then you will get a bad grade and you failing a class when it wasn't I think that homework is a myth and conversation. A teacher gets ways it's pretty overwhelming over time, and then you're not learning anything. It's stress, learning what you're trying to. Okay. Here, so I think with homework, it's good if you get into the class time to understand and get at least some of it done. You also ask the teachers questions if you're confused. You only have the training. I would say that homework generally is very effective. I think that's one of the reasons why so many educators still are doing homework. It's a chance to practice the material they've learned in a comfortable environment at home, that they don't speed. But the problems come and the roadblocks come whenever students start feeling overwhelmed by the workload. They feel very stressed that they can't get everything done in time, especially if they're not already understanding the material and they're really struggling with it. They start to feel like they don't have anything else with it, and that is kind of do or die. And in that sense, it's kind of like they start to feel a little bit more bitterness, resentment towards that. But it just kind of emphasizes the importance and effectiveness of project-based learning, student pace, that kind of thing. So homework in itself is not bad. It is the moderation and making sure that the student is being taken care of with that. So that I feel like educators.
You know, with the word homework, I'm sure a lot of people hate the word homework. You know, when your teacher says, "Oh, make sure you do your homework right after school." Yes, even I feel the same way. Like, I feel stressed about homework, but if you're not going to push yourself, you're not going to go anywhere. It's really true, and some people actually choose that. To me, I think that's a really bad decision for me, because you always want to be successful in life, especially your parents and other families that support you.
Sam, go ahead. I think you wanted to say something also. Nope, we lost Sam.
We lost Sam, but I'm back. And Dr. Winokur, if you'd like to add any thoughts.
Yes. My thought as a teacher when I was in the classroom was always about what is the value of what I'm giving them to do at home. So some of you talked about the extra practice and so forth, and I think I heard something about overdoing it. And so there's always this criticism that if you could do every other problem, or you do the first few problems and you did them correctly, and then why do 40 problems or 20 problems? And also the hands-on nature of the homework, that it's not just drill and skill. So it isn't just problems out of the book or something, that it's something that's valuable to the students. And I also think that the research shows for younger students that the amount of time they should be spending on homework should be much, much less than most of them do. That it really isn't helpful for them. At a certain point, it's just too exhausting for them. So, and I think we should watch that for high school students also. I think I hear students going to sleep after midnight trying to finish all of their homework. So we should keep an eye on that too, I think.
And I think that's what makes this such a hot topic as well. So thank you for adding those thoughts, especially from your wide range of experiences across so many different levels in education. I think we're going to be ready to move on to Q2. So Darcy, if you could take us away.
Yeah, sure. So the second question is, how has homework affected you, positively and or negatively?
For myself, I think homework affected me positively and at the same time negatively. Like what Eileen said, some people choose to stay up after midnight just to complete the homework, because I'm sure all of you guys know this word procrastination, and it really affects a lot of people. It even affects me but you really need to time yourself. Timing and management is just so important in lives. It's so important for our minds, especially we need to get that 8-hour sleep. And if we don't get that, that's not going to make us any better the next day of school. And it's really important.
So, like you were saying, Justice, sleep 100%, that's the problem with a lot of high school students. So, stress is also a problem that we were talking about before. Homework stresses students out, especially when they have plenty of other homework and assignments due. Do you have anything?
And sleep is really important for our brains to grow. So without that sleep, we're missing out on a lot. Like my mom always says, you gotta sleep.
Yep. You need to have that rest. SWAT team, you want to go next?
Yeah. There's definitely a lot of positives and negatives. Joseph, especially, I relate to the whole procrastination thing. I have been a procrastinator my entire life. So in that sense, it does cause a lot of stress, but a lot of the time that stress too is on the choices that the student makes in regards to that homework. It's not always about the homework itself, because the homework is there to help you learn the material, to help you go over it, be able to practice it on your own apart from the teacher. And a lot of the times too, whatever homework I get, it really does help me learn and know the material better, so I can learn something else the next day. Sorry about that. Lost my train of thought as well. But even then, with like the simple crosswords and kind of busy work that happen, a lot of the times that can be kind of refreshing, especially if you're in a more rigorous course and you usually have, like analysis to do, essays, all of that. It's kind of nice to give your brain that kind of like a break while still being able to engage and be a part of whatever it is you're learning in a more fun way. You guys are.
And with me, I've been procrastinating a few times, but I've gotten way better about it. And so I actually try to get the homework I have done in school, but there have still been days where I have been gotten home and just had hours of homework to do and just haven't gone to sleep till past midnight. And then I don't have enough time to sleep until the next day.
Okay. I think, like, I definitely see where you're coming from. I feel like I get positive impacts because of homework, but also negative impacts because of homework. I think homework has helped me a lot in the sense, like, I have a really hard time focusing in class, just because, like, I need to be in, like, a quiet area, like, with no distractions, and I just need to, like, focus for, like, a set period of time. I know that school always isn't the best area to be able to do that. So I find it easier when I do it at home, like by myself, because then I can control like what's happening around me better. So I focus more. But I also find homework personally to be also negative a lot of the time, especially as I've gotten older, just because sometimes, you don't always have the help that you need at home if you don't grasp the concept in class, and then you have to do it at home and you don't know what you're doing. That can become really stressful. Also, if the teacher doesn't teach it to you in class and wants you to learn it on your own and you don't have help, that can also be really annoying. It can also be really stressful when you have other important commitments and you're trying to like do like a little bit of a balancing act, especially if you have sleep and extracurriculars and sports. Like, I think homework is great, but it has to be just enough homework. I know like Dr. Eileen was saying, like, it's in like instead of just doing 40 questions, like doing 2 and really getting a grasp of it, I think is important, instead of just like overloading like students on homework. So that would be my perspective.
Yeah, I think they were all really, really good points. I was hearing a bit about time management. And so one of the things I guess homework is good for is learning how not to procrastinate, learning sort of to be involved. Sam, I see you're back on. Did you want to say anything about positives and negatives of homework?
Yeah. So I find that a lot of homework could be really stressful on a lot of people, but there's a fine line on how much you get, because there's been research shown that your brain at night before you go to bed gets rid of info that you didn't really use and that it doesn't think needed. And what homework is really doing is it's keeping it in your head so you do remember it for the next day, which I thought was pretty interesting, and that's why I do my homework, and I find that it does help, especially when you start thinking about exams and all of that. That homework really does help, but then too much can be really stressful and put a lot of pressure on people.
And I think it's important you've made reference to the brain and sleep, and I've heard that come up again, and really making sure that we're paying attention to what we know about science in that way.
Yeah, and making sure that the practice that you're doing at home is valuable, that it is practice that will reinforce. One of the things that I heard several of you say was about the fact that it's stressful, partially because if you don't know how to do the homework or you're not sure you're doing it correctly, and when you get home, there's really might not be anybody to ask, that you feel the stress having to take it back in the next day, and there are points allotted to it, grades allotted to it. So perhaps having your teachers understand that maybe reteaching is necessary, and because homework is really practice. So that's one way for you to find out when you get home that you didn't really understand what you thought you understood in class. And sometimes until you actually do it yourself, if you didn't have time to do it in class, you don't know. So having that opening when you get back into class to be able to learn it again, or go over it or find out what you're doing wrong is really important, and probably would reduce your stress a bit. So I heard that from several of you, so that seemed to be a concern.
I also want to say thank you to our students from the Social Justice League of Silver Pines. I know they had to step out early, but thank you to Lisa and Robin for adding their voice there for question 2. I know we are about on to question 3, our final question of the Tweet and Talk.
Yeah, so our final question is, what alternatives to homework can you suggest?
I can start this one if you want. So I know a lot of you said that homework can be really stressful. I totally get that. It stresses me pretty much every day because there's so much going on. Your teacher's like giving 16,000 things that need to be completed by tomorrow, let's say. So really try meditating. Meditating is usually good to relax and calm the nervous system. So that's probably one of the most common things that people know and people should do.
One of the alternatives that I definitely think teachers should work towards is doing a lot in class and then only giving maybe 5 to 10 minutes outside of school. Because usually what ends up happening is we're given, 20 questions in math, and we're given a history packet to do, we're given chemistry homework to do, we're given a book to read for English. It's a lot all at once, and I think come to this understanding of that we're not only in their class, but we're in multiple other people's classes, and so every night we might be getting homework, so they shouldn't overload us. And I especially think with some subjects, it is more important to work inside of the classroom, like if history, your teacher is giving a lecture and then gives you a packet to do outside of school. Even though the lecture and the packet are the same thing, he or she might not let you work on it during class, even though it's the same content over and over and over again. We're trying to pound it in the head, and at some point, you just can't take in that much information from one subject. There have been instances too, throughout middle school and high school for me, in which say a 3-day weekend would come up, in a teacher's mind, or at least the teachers I had, it was, hey, you have an extra day to get this assignment done, so I'm going to assign you some more homework. And I think that brings back the importance of having brain breaks, being able to enjoy away from the work, the homework, be able to just process it on your own without having to constantly dig into that subject. I think another alternative to homework that has proven effective in my life is project-based learning, because with that it collaborates with students, it encourages a hands-on work environment, and it encourages creativity. And it's really been a fun thing for me because students get to go research with their friends, they get to research on their own, they get to put together all that information. It would be a great chance to teach them some digital citizenship, maybe. What resources out there are good for them to search up. It opens up so many more opportunities for these different kinds of learning while keeping the students engaged in what they're doing in class, and then maybe a little bit of homework for them to brush up on the night before, so that when they come back to class, they're ready and ready to go again with the Monday. So that's just something that's proven especially effective in my student learning. Do you have anything to add?
Something that's always helped me and my friends is we get exit tickets, the work that we do before we leave the class, if we have extra time. And that really helps, especially in my chemistry class, because then you're doing the work with the students that just simply with you. And if you don't understand, your teacher is right there for you to ask you without having an email or anything. She's right there, she can work it out with you. Or posting a video explaining what happened. This happens a lot in my chemistry and my economics class. And they'll post a video either working on problems or something that they found explaining it to them, and that typically helps a lot with getting experience.
Thank you so much for adding all of that. We're kind of winding down here into our final few minutes. I just want to also acknowledge the conversation happening on Twitter right now. We have Mr. Kraft at STechra75 on Twitter talking about well-organized and individual learning times being integrated into the school day that could help and maybe improve the need for homework outside of school. So how can we kind of re-envision what our school day looks like if we, have more purposeful planning for what that could look like in the school day? And also Alice Keeler has chimed in on Twitter and talking about it's not about necessarily getting rid of homework, it's planning for it. And what can the school day look like when we don't rely on home for completing schoolwork? So really thinking about the structure of the school day. So it's really, that's why it's such a hot topic, to get people thinking and possibly even disrupting what the traditional school norms look like. So I want to say, as we close down here, I don't know if anyone has any final thoughts, or Dr. Winokur, if you'd like to add as well. I know, Darcy, you wanted to add, I know, and then we'll come back around.
Sure. I don't want to take too much time because I know that we're ending soon. But I feel like when I was younger, a lot of my homework used to be hands-on, like stuff that you can only do at home. Like maybe if I was learning a new math concept, you would go home and see what the area of your dining room table was. And I feel like that was really beneficial because it teaches students how their learnings apply to their everyday lives and how to apply in a real-life situation and not just on a worksheet. And it's a lot different than what I was learning in the classroom. So that's what really made my homework beneficial. Also, this is just a suggestion. I haven't really thought it through, but maybe optional homework. If students feel like they have a really good grasp of the concept, just doing a few questions compared to students who struggle more could do more variety.
So having a little bit more personalized. Personalized homework. Yeah. Just really quickly, because as you're all saying, we need to finish up. My observation is that these kinds of conversations, having the student voice involved in what is homework and what is really valuable to all of you, the ones who are doing the homework, is really important. And so I'm hoping that the conversation will continue in the slow chat on Twitter. I'll be checking in because I think it's really important that students themselves have these types of suggestions, like the SWAT team and Darcy and Joseph and Sam, I'm sure, also has suggestions. So I'd love to hear exactly what that would look like the more authentic learning and things that you could do at home.
And that absolutely is the beauty of Global Ed Student Chat. It's amplifying student voice. It's hearing from the kids whose voice matters most in this conversation, in collaboration with our educators. We hope that you'll continue on over to the slow chat. I want to thank everyone for joining us here on the Tweet and Talk on YouTube Live. For those that added on Twitter or will continue to add from Twitter, I'd like to thank our CISD SWAT team I'd like to thank Sam and Darcy from our student leadership team. I'd like to thank Lisa and Robin from joining in from the Silver Pines School and their Social Justice League. And also like to thank Dr. Eileen Winokur for joining all the way from Kuwait, bringing her wealth of experiences into the conversation. I look forward to seeing what you'll have to add to the Slow Chat. So that's going to continue all through January. Be sure to use hashtag GlobalEdSSChat so our team can interact with you. Please give us a follow on social media or visit our website at globaledstudentchat or sschat.com to learn more. You can connect with Eileen Winokur on Twitter as Dr. Eileen, if you'd like to share your Twitter handle.
Sure, it's at Eileen Winokur, ILENEWINOKUR.
Thank you so much. And watch for details about next month's chat, which will be posted on our website on the 1st of each month. Next month's chat will take place on February 11th around the topic of the value of relationships. Thank you again so much for joining us, and we will see you online.